Good morning and welcome back to the channel. It is another beautiful day, and I'm not going to do a ride today because we got a lot going on. But before the day got started, I wanted to give you a quick update. Well, maybe not so quick, but I wanted to give you an update on the DF. I have decided, for those of you who keep asking, I have decided to keep it. So the former eyeball will soon be sold, and I'll have only the DFXL. I have yet to decide whether I'm going to put a lot of graphics on it. At this point, I'm just leaving it like it is. A lot of people have told me, man, it just looks so clean, it looks so pretty. Others have said, where's the graphics? So at this point, I'm still undecided as what I'm going to do with it. It's because of the different shape of the DF. To me, it doesn't lend itself to the same graphics in the same way that the Quest does. With the teardrop shape of the Quest, it really was the perfect canvas to put an eyeball on. Whereas the DF is a little bit different shaped, so I may have to reconsider some of the graphics and maybe consider how I'm going to update them and maybe put them on small, because I tend to I like how clean this particular Velomobile is. So let me know in the comments below, what do you think? Do you think I should add flaming eyeball graphics all over this thing, or should I leave it nice and clean? What is it you think, and what do you think I'll do? Alright, so I'm going to take you through the DF, and I'm going to try and show you all of the things that Bob has put in this to upgrade it. Really, some really cool things in here that have been upgraded. I'm looking forward to some really great rides in this vehicle. And hopefully I'll get to ride with the guy who's buying the eyeball. The guy who's buying the Quest. Hopefully we'll get to do some rides together. But for now, let's walk through the DF and see what's inside. Okay, so first off, let's start with what the Velomobile has on the outside. Of course, it's a standard DF. It comes with the standard DF parts and a few extras. So this particular DF comes with this hatch, which goes on the top here. But this particular DF also came with a hood that had a NACA duct. It works pretty good. It adds quite a bit of cooling inside the DF, and it's great for riding when it's warmer or when it's in the summertime. But I also have the standard hood, which closes that off and makes it more aerodynamic. So it comes with that. The next thing it comes with is the sun cap. And you've seen this in a previous video. It's the sun cap that is manufactured by Inner City Bikes. It's carbon fiber. It's got the dual windshield here in the front, just a little bit. And I still have yet to figure out why this piece of Velcro is here. If anyone can tell me, leave a comment below and tell me what is the purpose of having that little piece of Velcro right in the middle of my windshield. Maybe that was something Bob did and I just don't know about. So this DF also came with the race cap. And I mentioned that the sun cap was a standard feature on the DF. It is not. It is an optional feature. As well as this race cap. This race cap is an optional feature. These come in really handy in the winter time. They're very nice to keep the cool air off you. But at the same time, you can close the window down and leave a little gap in here and still get enough cooling air for the winter to make the rides enjoyable in the winter. This is another upgrade. So both the sun cap and the race cap are upgrades. They are not standard issue, but they came with this particular Velomobile. Unlike the Quest, which has fully enclosed wheel wells, and the shell is on the outside of the wheel, the DF has an open wheel, and this makes it very easy to get to the wheel and do maintenance. There's one screw in the middle of the wheel, and you use this screw to remove it. And then it just slides right off, and you have access to the shock and the brakes, and you can do maintenance of whatever you need to do right there. If you notice, in this wheel, there's no way to get to the valve stem to pump up the tire. So you just undo the screw and pop it off, or you can roll the Velo on its side and then you can get to both of them. I have been given some advice by someone, Daniel, gave me some advice that it's probably better to remove these on occasion. He said he didn't do that for the longest time, and he would roll his DF over on the side to pump it up. And then when it came time to remove this, he had to apply excessive heat. And I don't know how he did that, but he had to apply a lot of heat, and he had to really work to get these bolts out. So he recommends that when you're pumping up the tires, just go ahead and pop them off. It doesn't take really that much time, but it comes with tools to make this easy to remove, and you just pump up the tires, and then you have access to everything else. And you can also do an inspection each time you're pumping up tires. Now, my particular DF also came with a complete spare wheel. So this is a complete front wheel. It has a magnet on it, so it can be used on the left side for the speed sensor, or it can be used on the right side in the case of emergency. Came with a tire, inner tube, the cover. This is a complete wheel from Inner City Bikes. And Bob carried this in the back of the Velomobile. When Bob was riding in his DF, he oftentimes commented how it was so much easier to just remove the bolt, slap on the whole new wheel, and continue riding within 5 minutes if he got a flat. So this one came with my DF. This is not standard issue either, but this is a really good idea. In fact, it's been used by other velonauts now that they found out that this is something that you can do. There's plenty of room in the DF to carry this along the left side in the back behind the seat, as well as carrying your tools and food and other things that you need. Now, the DF is much smaller than the Quest, but you can still carry plenty in this particular Velomobile. So what else is on the outside of this DF? Well, the DF comes standard with Z-fall mirrors. The one thing I don't like, and this is just me in particular, as my eyes get older, I can't see as well for things that are up close. So I wear reading glasses when I'm reading or when I'm looking at things that are up close. And in this particular case, these mirrors are just close enough because if you recall, the cockpit opening on the DF compared to the Quest is about a 4-inch difference, I believe. I actually probably need to measure that just to make sure. But it's about 4 inches or so is what it looks like to me. And that puts these mirrors at just a position that they're close enough to me when I'm sitting in the cockpit that it makes the image in the mirror blurry. But they come standard like this, right on the DF. Now Bob has upgraded his and had some 3D printed mirror covers, one of which just doesn't want to stay on. I don't know why, it just doesn't want to stay on. But it fits over there really nicely, and it probably adds some aerodynamics. I don't know how much. Since this cover doesn't stay on all the time, and it figures now that I want it to come off, it won't come off. I just leave it in the case over there. The one on the left side seems to stay on just fine, just how it is. So although I like these Z-fall mirrors, one of the things that I have done is I have asked, same guy who does not want to be named and does not want to be inundated with orders because he's not doing it as a business, he did it as a friend, and he will remain nameless, but thank you very much, you know who you are. But he also made me these mirror covers, and I have taken, I bought the Bush & Mueller mirrors. These are what's used on a Quest. They will take this Bush & Mueller mirror and this post here, and they cut off the ball. So there's a ball joint right down in there. They cut off the ball and then they thread it. And if you look at the Quest, that's exactly what you see on that Velomobile, is these Bush & Mueller mirrors, full mirrors. Well, I wanted a mirror that was a little bit bigger. I like the Bush & Mueller mirror because I liked it on the Quest. It's got a nice big circle. I can see what's coming up behind me. And compared to the Z-fall, it's quite a bit smaller. The Z-fall is quite a bit smaller than the Bush & Mueller, and so I wanted to get something that was a little bit bigger. Well, the modification on the DF, which obviously I haven't put on the Velomobile yet, the modification is I bought those mirrors. And then these aerodynamic covers were 3D printed. And there are some other 3D printed parts in here. And this particular one is also 3D printed to be able to house a turn signal in the front, but I'm not going to wire any turn signals into it. So 3D printed piece, and then the Bush & Mueller mirror was actually cut not quite in half, a little bit more in half. So in comparison, it is pretty close to the same size as the Z-Fall, but this is also a glass mirror and it doesn't have any convex or concave differences in it, and it sits down on the DF a little bit better. So I don't know if you can tell on camera, but since these mirrors are plastic and they just have this reflective film over them, there is a slight distortion. You might be able to see it around the edges. I'm not really sure if you can see it. I'll try and get it. Yeah, you can kind of see it where there's a distortion around the edges here. And sometimes that distortion translates into the middle of the mirror. It's really hard to see, but there's a slight distortion in the mirror right here. The upgrade and the difference between the Z-Fall or the Z-Fall and the Bush & Mueller is the Bush & Mueller is a glass mirror, and so there's not going to be any distortions in it like this. I do not know the life expectancy of these Z-Fall mirrors. A lot of people like them, but like I said, for me they were just a little bit too small. The Bush & Mueller mirrors are just going to give me a clearer vision. So the physical size of the mirror is just about the same, but if you see, I'm going to have a much clearer view of the same objects. So that's probably the best I can do for you. Get my van in the background there, and you can see the difference. My bike also came with a couple other fancy things. This here is a GPS signal enhancement device, I guess, if you will. If you know anything about GPSs, when you put them inside of a carbon fiber body like the DF or like the Quest or any other Velomobile, the signal for the GPS satellites to get to your GPS unit, and in my case I use a Garmin 1000, it can be off. The carbon fiber body can interfere with that and you can get some erroneous readings. So this is the receiver for the GPS, and it runs along this wire, goes down inside, and inside the Velomobile there's an amplifier which amplifies the signal inside the Velomobile and has, Bob tells me it will greatly increase the accuracy of my GPS. The other thing that this particular DF comes with is this little handle right here. I was going to purchase one of these for my Quest because they're available. All it is a U-bolt, a couple holes drilled in the back, and it makes it so you can move the Velomobile around much easier. I just never got around to doing it. And on the Quest, to get to the very back here, I'd have to disassemble the whole top and take it off to make sure I get to those bolts, because it's very difficult to get back in there. The DF, you don't have that luxury. So if I have to change any of these electronics or fix anything back here, I've either got to crawl through the back of the Velo or take this part off. In this case, the light system here is epoxied on, and I could probably pry this off if I needed to change this, but they use LED lights and the odds of them going out are low because they're just not used that much. So it's brake lights and fog lights and turn signals. This one also has a little light that came with it. Bob gave me this light, so it's just a flashing rear light, a little blinky light that you can get at any bike shop or anything. He uses dual lock, which I think is great stuff. It's a very strong Velcro that will allow lights and lightweight items like this to be held on very securely. One of the things that this particular DF came with was this particular mount. And if you don't know what this is, I'll tell you. This is a mount for a Garmin Varia radar, which, if you remember in one of my previous videos, I just purchased one of these. I finally upgraded to one. And Bob has made this mount, and with dual lock, it is a mount that snaps right on there. And the Varia radar is a very lightweight piece of equipment. And with this dual lock, I mean, it's just not going to come off. And he's using double stick tape to get it on there. I feel very secure with this system. Now, if I wanted to, I could probably put some sort of lanyard or something and attach it to the handle just to make sure, just to give me that extra insurance that I'm not going to lose my Varia. But with this system, I don't think I will. So that's another little It's just these little details that Bob put into this Velomobile that really make it top notch and that much extra. And of course, one more thing, since I'm a YouTuber, my GoPro mount. You've seen me use this already on a ride for the DF, and it's mounted about the same place it was mounted on the Quest, so you can get the same kind of first-person view for riding in a Velomobile that we have. Oh yes, one additional thing that I have purchased is a motorcycle cover. This has to be modified a little bit, and I can carry it with me because there are mirrors and things that stick out funny ways on a motorcycle that I'm not going to be using on the DF. So I can carry this with me and cover it up, and it tends to make it blend in and people don't mess with the DF when you're out and about and you have to leave it somewhere. It's also good dust protection for when I'm home and I have it stored in the garage and I'm riding the Trike. One of the other nice features about the DF is it has access covers, and one of those access covers is right here, and this is for the rear derailleur. Now the Quest also has an access cover for the rear derailleur. It's up underneath it, but this one is right on the side, and it's just 4 bolts that hold it on. Comes right out. This particular one is a carbon fiber black piece that I've covered with red vinyl to get it to blend better. I didn't like the big black square that was on the side, so I covered it with vinyl to make it blend in a little bit. I think that's about it for the outside. This one's obviously red and blue, and it doesn't have any graphics on it yet, but we'll see what happens. Now for the really cool tour. Let's get inside the Velo.